Come back after lunch. You already glad you came back after lunch, but you're in for a really good treat in a moment or two. It's a treat for me to be introducing our distinguished next speaker, Wendy Horn, who is a change leaver of note. As is customary for something like this, the speaker will send through a whole lot of bios and CVs for the introducer to refer to. But I went to Facebook to find out a little bit more about Wendy. When you don't have to worry about page 12. But one of the first things, and that's actually where I started reading, one of the first things I came across was this, a quote by Lisa Romano. If we expect students to be kind, we need to be kind adults. If we expect students to be cooperative, we need to be cooperative adults. If we expect students to be responsible, then we need to be responsible adults. Model, 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 model. And I thought that resonates because it's a demanding subject, 21st century schools, right at the heart of it are the people in those classrooms. Wendy will be known to many of us in the room, but even if that is the case, her impressive CV is well worth summarising, although I don't think I can really do it justice. Her teaching career started at Parktown Girls High in Gauteng. She then saw the light and came down to Cape Town, where she taught at Settlers for a while, becoming deputy principal, and in 2014 she was appointed head at Protea Heights. She has been the chief marker and internal moderator of physical science, the chemistry paper. She's authored a number of grade 10 to grade 12 textbooks for Oxford University Press, and she's co-authored a digital physical science platform on Zoom. As an English and French teacher, much respect for all of that, Wendy. Her lectures in educational management at the University of the Western Cape have impacted greatly on numerous principals, deputies, and department heads. And currently, Wendy is the WCED Director of the Metropole North District, a position in which her passion for education has had a positive impact since 2020 and continues to do so. Await is more. She's won 2 national awards, Excellence in Science Education in the years 2013-2014, and Excellence in Secondary School Leadership in guess what years? 2019 and 2020. And wait, there's more. As if these accomplishments were not enough, Wendy was selected as one of the top 50 teachers in the world in the Global Teacher Prize in 2018. Wendy, thank you so much, not only for what you're about to share with us and your time here today, but for your massive contribution to the lives of our country's young people and its educational leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you Ms. Wendy Horn from 21st Century Schools. She wrote this on herself.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming back after lunch. We just get this Apple thing to work. Okay. So, the bio seems impressive, but I think one thing I want to say before I go into this is that, one, I never intended being a teacher, and somehow I fell into it because I got a bursary and they trapped me for the rest of my life. And so here I am, a teacher, and somehow I ended up being, we're going to have the first slide, somehow. Okay, got it. Okay, thanks. And so I ended up becoming a teacher through a Funza bursary, and I was trapped, and I actually wanted to become a scientist. That's my first passion, and still is a passion of mine. And so I did science teaching, and throughout my career, never aspired to be a principal or anything like that. I just loved what I did. I loved teaching. I loved children, and now I'm here on the dark side of things. I miss my classroom every day. I miss the children the most every day. I miss talking nonsense in the classroom. As you all know, it's the absolutely best place to be. So Greg came to me and said, I need to talk about 21st century classrooms. And I thought, 4 years ago, I would have been very passionate about this as a principal. Now I'm on this side of the fence. And all I know is, maybe I should start with this disclaimer, because all the North principals are looking at me. No, I don't have any mobiles. No, I don't have any posts in my pockets. And yes, I do have all the children for you to place. But, so you become jaded, and the problem just seems so insurmountable. And we're talking 21st century schools, but we have schools with we've been immobile since, I don't know, 20 years ago. We have schools, as we say, with no internet. We have schools who are essentially feeding 1,400 kids twice a day. And where do we fit all this 21st century stuff into that? You know, 1% of the schools in North are fee-paying schools. Yet 80% are quintile 4 schools. So the disparities are just massive. And so in all of this, to become a 21st century school, my only advice to the principal I can say, or a couple of advice, is one, as a principal, you need to hustle. You need to hustle. Like my principals now are hustling me while I was having teaching a mobile in your pocket, need this, all needs to be fixed. They were hustling. And you know what, I respect that hustle. Please, you need to hustle. You need to go out there, you need to make things happen. It's not going to happen if you don't hustle. As I say to the people, you need to ask. And then you need to ask and nag and beg and fight. That's your job. Okay, my job is to divide out the one mobile between 20 schools. But that's your job. Second thing is, as principals, these 21st century schools, you must manage your school. Please stop phoning the district office. We have no clue what to do. We pretend to know what to do. But you know what to do. Manage your school. You are in charge of your school. You manage your school. And in that management, be agile. You have to be agile. We can't be doing the same things we do every day and hope it's going to change. Einstein says that's the definition of madness. Be agile. And most of our township schools, if you want to call them that, are agile. I know today there's no water, tomorrow there's no electricity, there is a fight and a riot, the taxis are blocking, and they are agile. I appeal to my SMLC schools. Everything was, you've got your year plan set for the next 10 years. Please throw that thing away. Be agile. Okay, things change so fast in education. And maybe, lastly, before I move into this, don't be afraid to fail. As principals, we are scared to fail because it makes us vulnerable to our staff. You know what? Failure is awesome. It's because the only way we learn. You don't learn when you are successful. Sometimes you're successful by accident, and you hope you can be successful again because you don't really learn anything from it. But you need to be able to fail. So agile, fail, hustle. Okay? The best principals are the best hustlers. That's what I've picked up. So please do those things. And so how do you get to be a 21st century school when you have all these constraints? You know, and you are under-resourced as a department. So I actually did this exercise of putting into ChatGTP, what is a 21st century school? Because I couldn't actually do this topic when Greg came to me. And it said, you know, it's a modern building. I thought, no, that's not going to happen. Technology integration, no, that definitely not, especially now if you can't answer your cell phone because there's no internet. Must be personalized. I thought, yeah, I've got 57 kids in the grade 7 class. I don't know how they're going to personalize that. But anyway, collaboration. Okay, collaboration. That can happen. We can collaborate. Okay, with each other, within the class, with the teachers, etc. So I'll expand about that. Creative. I just said about that. Hustle. You've got to be creative. So what if you don't have internet? What if you don't have devices? You know, how many of you are Google registered school and are using Google Classroom to interact with your learners? You know? And some of you are there, but that's 1% of the schools. So how do the rest of the schools get their learners ready to be 21st century citizens, the fourth industrial revolution and all these big words? Watch this.
We wanted to talk about 21st century education. We are living through an educational revolution. The pace of change is staggering. Schools, regions, entire countries are turning education on its head and redefining the experiences of students and of teachers. The impact is felt by millions of children and their families around the world. Let's consider for a moment the world in which they live. A world with so much knowledge it's hard to grasp. People are creating 2,000 new websites every hour. They are uploading 35 hours of video every minute and watching 2 billion YouTube videos every day. By the time they leave school, teenagers average nearly 1,000 Facebook friends. They connect with people thousands of miles away as if they were in the same room. They consume, produce, and communicate information in previously unimaginable ways. They truly are the children of a globalized world. And where are they heading as they grow up? To a hyper-connected world with more people and fewer resources. A see a competitive world full of uncertainties, a workforce that is more mobile and better qualified than ever before, and careers that span multiple jobs, positions and skill sets, some of which haven't been invented yet. In response, education leaders are making big changes, building 21st century skills, using enabling technologies, and personalising learning to engage students in diverse and creative ways. In South Korea, schools are switching to digital textbooks so students can study anytime and anywhere, with online hours recognised as school attendance. In Denmark, students are using the internet while taking exams. They can access any site they like, even Facebook, as long as they don't message each other or use email. In the USA, ultra-personalised learning approaches allow students to create their own individual schedules. Their interests and performance are logged data to generate playlists of learning options, with teachers' time freed up to mentor and supervise students. Learning can happen anywhere and everywhere. That's why some Australian schools are pushing learning beyond school walls, where internships with local organisations are a fundamental part of each student's learning plan. Distance learning programs are connecting seriously disengaged students with online learning communities and personal mentors to help them rediscover their love for learning. The opportunities for 21st century education are immense. These examples point the way to ensuring that tomorrow's workers, parents and citizens are more creative problem solvers, better communicators and lifelong learners. To make sure that change happens on a massive scale, we need to make big changes. That's why we've designed a new Australian curriculum online, supported by interactive, constantly updated digital resources, structured around students and teachers' needs. And it's why we now have national professional standards for teachers and principals that make sure they meet them.
So I'm going to stop it there. What I wanted us to take from that video is that we are definitely not there. But the other thing I wanted us to take was one of the main slides there. Learning happens everywhere. Learning happens everywhere. So these are the skills they say you require in the 21st century. Collaborative, problem-solving, creativity, hands-on learning, cultural competency, effective written, oral, ethical decision-making, information, media literacy, and leadership. I don't see anything there about having a computer, being online. None of that's there. Learning can happen everywhere. So wherever you are, there are businesses around you that you can link your students up with, where they can learn skills. They can go job shadow. You can get speakers in. You can take your class, instead of keeping them in that hot mobile at 34 degrees Celsius, take them out into the quad. They can go learn outside. Take them into the swamp next door to you there, Mrs. Napota. There's lots of biodiversity stuff that they can go do there. Why? And I know you're saying that the CAPS doesn't allow it. The CAPS does allow it. You don't need to tick every box and every sentence in the CAPS. You are professionals. Interpret that CAPS. If you are teaching in the 21st century way that your children are creative and can problem solve and can read with meaning and understanding, then you know what? The content is not important. Why do we have to teach in history 5 different wars and revolutions? So that the kids can understand how to analyze what makes a war and what happens in it and how do we solve it. The underlying concepts you want to know about war and economics of war and that. Why don't we teach one? Teaching the skills required within that one, and then we just apply the same skills to the others. It doesn't really matter the date that the war took place or how long it was. It's the underlying concepts that we're trying to teach them. So the 21st century skills that the learners that are required as they grow up can be taught in under-resourced and low-resource areas with creativity and innovation. Now it's difficult to understand if you've got 57 kids in your class and you're going to just want to talk and talk, because that's the best way to keep them under control. I know it. I've got a daughter who, unfortunately, I'm going to leave now because she's actually just made a hockey team that she's playing in. But she just comes home and says, I have to copy the slides down. Just copy the slides today. So that's what we did. We copied these slides down the whole lesson. What did she learn? And she's at a really good school, and we get really good results. But copying slides, how's that going to be a 21st century skill? Rather take them outside, if you're going to do NS, and you want them to learn about, I don't know, biodiversity, instead of copying down the 50 definitions, let them go outside. There's a whole field of grass and stuff where they can learn in a creative, collaborative, together, creative way, problem-solving way. But here's the crux, I think, why it doesn't happen in our schools. Because it's a hell of a lot of work for the teacher. You need to plan, you need to have everything down to the nth degree, because you know those children, as soon as you let them go outside, it's enough. If you don't have a plan, you don't know, you're fooling around, those children are just going to go berserk. Even your best children or your worst children. So it takes a lot of planning, and it takes practice. So the first time you do it, you're probably going to fail, the kids are going to go berserk. And it's the answers you're going to get, you're going to think, what the heck? I'm never going to do that again, go back to chalk and talk and copy the slides. So you need to take it, you need to do it, you need to fail, you need to refine it, you need to go do it again and fail again until you get it right. And you need to somehow take a principle. The chaos you see going on there is actually learning that is happening, because they're going to also come. I remember when I was principal at Project Arts Academy, we had a lot of outdoor classrooms. We did a lot of outdoor type of learning, and I would walk out, stomp out my office, stomp. What's that noise? I'm trying to work. It's learning happening here, ma'am. Okay, go back inside, close the window so that I could work. Because learning in this way is noisy, it's crazy, it's chaos, it's controlled chaos, but it's chaos. And that is how the learners learn. In that video, they also said kids have access to how many thousand websites, they watch so many videos. I mean, TikTok, if you've got a teenager, you'll know TikTok is the way to go. They probably watch about 300 videos a day on TikTok. They can multitask. They think they can multitask, but they do. There's hundreds of things going on at any given time. And then you bring them into a classroom where they're going to concentrate on one thing. Forget it. We are so boring, people. I don't want to go back to school. It's hell of a boring. School is boring. I'm ADHD and school is boring. I would never make it in a classroom. So I think we need to be innovative in how we take that CAPS document and interpret what must be done in that document. Okay? So classroom, my topic initially was classroom by design. How do we design our classrooms and our school space to allow for this 21st century learning to take place? Especially when we don't have internet and computers and all the fancy stuff, personalized learning. How do we design? And if you take a look here, the 1890s, I think most of our classrooms still look like that, eh? Rows of desks, right? Windows on the one side of the wall. Nobody can see the whiteboard because it's so bright in there, you have to wear shades. And that's what our classrooms are, because many of our schools were built 100 years ago or so. Then they changed the design of the classrooms at one point and tried to make it more inclusive with little clusters of desks looking at each other, different types of learning spaces, more group work. And then I remember I was part of that when I was still a young teacher. Group work came in and we had to go to group work, and I thought, I'm a science teacher, we like to sit in the labs in straight lines, and what must I do to get group work going? And it's a nightmare because, my saying about group work, my own personal saying, is please let the people that I do group work with lower me into my grave so they can let me down one more time. And so, just group work for me doesn't work. And for learners it's hard because one person does the work and the rest get the marks, and it's a fight with the parents, and I know. And so group work came out and we designed our classrooms, these little clusters, and in the group at the back with nothing because they were just chatting to each other, doing whatever. And so the design then changed to more multi-purpose places where we have maybe places where kids can do group work, places where they can sit at their desks, and the foundation-based classrooms are good design of this. You have your mat, and you have the place where the kids can sit at desks, and you might have another place where they are making art type of things. So that is the foundation phase design, which seems to work very well. Our results in the foundation phase, in the systemic and everything, are so much better than our grade 6 results. And then our grade 9 results are dismal. Wait till they come out, you're going to cry. But then the question is, why is it going so well in the foundation phase? What happens at grade 4, 5, and lecture group because only one person wanted to work and the rest would just watch. So we need to think about our design of our classrooms. And now we've got a mix of things happening in our classrooms, but the spaces in our classrooms don't necessarily always give rise to us doing this multi-purpose different areas in our classroom. If you've got a mobile of 60 square meters with 57 kids in it, you don't have much maneuverability within that classroom, but you do have outside of the classroom. Okay? I've got a picture here of a science lab which is designed by UWC, and they put these labs in with different types of working areas for the kids. It has in the middle, it has a sort of what's the thing called the lazy, lazy something other with Susan Nets. You can turn it around and the chemicals move, which is a great idea in practice, but a great idea in theory, but not in practice because those kids, those chemicals go, and as a science teacher, it's a bit nerve-wracking. And now we're moving in our design of schools and classrooms to more sustainable classrooms. So now we've got solar panels, inverters, collecting rainwater, JoJo tanks with day zero. Many schools now have JoJo tanks. They use the water to flush the toilets, etc. And we're collecting our rainwater and getting to a more sustainable type of classroom. So classroom design. I put a disclaimer in here because I tried to find some research to tell us what actually works. And you will find so many conflicting ideas about how you should put your classroom together and your content together in order to create this 21st century learning space for the learners. And why is that? It's because each learner is individual. Each learner has their own individual learning style. Some like group work, some like me, absolutely hate group work. Others are on the autistic spectrum. They see things and they learn differently at a different pace. Others want to work with their hands, actually just don't want to do anything that doesn't involve doing something. And so we somehow in our classrooms need to create a space, design it so that each learner within obviously a constraint has a space or a moment in time in the day where they can learn in their style, where we can bring out this critical thinking in their style of learning. Difficult, but something to think about when you go back to your classroom tomorrow. I had a maths teacher when I was principal. We had this thing, you must put these posters up in your classroom, and I had very young teachers, and it was almost like a competition, cutthroat competition, whose classroom was going to be the best at the beginning of each year. Yeah, they spent money. They had no money, these young teachers, but they would spend posters, paint. I was like, nobody can paint a classroom. That's a rule in the school. And I'd come back and the classroom would be painted. And I would say, every time you paint the classroom gets smaller, But I had one teacher who refused to put up a single poster. And the curriculum advisor used to go crazy, because that's part of your tick list. You must have posters in class and IQ testing. And he just refused. And because he was autistic himself, he was an IT maths teacher, and he said, these posters distract the learners. When I teach, I want them to be focused on me and on what we are doing. The other stuff around here, the things that hang from the roof and whatever, distract the learners. So he didn't have a single thing. There wasn't a single piece of paper in his classroom, except it was on the desk of the child. Different way of thinking. And because we were a maths and science focused school, I did draw a lot of learners that were slightly on the autistic spectrum, had different ways of learning. We had one who would talk to himself and eat lunch, but we had all sorts of characters. And they thrived in their classroom. They loved it. They weren't distracted. Those boys that did IT and maths with him thrived. Because he spoke in his monotone. Because I thought it was boring as hell, and it's like an IT lesson. Can we make this a bit more exciting in here? So I'm ADHD, I need distraction. But he got the best results out of those children in the way that he made them work. Eventually, he had them working collaboratively. We were Google Classroom, working on Google Classroom. You bring up a slide, and we can then work together on one slide. And because these kids were on autistic spectrum, they didn't want to talk to each other, but they didn't mind working together on a slide, because they didn't have to look at each other or know who was writing what as such. And it gave them more confidence in words, and they could interact more. So you need to, in your design of how you're going to teach collaboration, critical thinking skills, and creativity, you need to look at your learners you have and what resources you have at hand, and do the best that you can with those resources you have. So What can we do?
If you're going to work independently to catch up, you'll actually turn the tables toward that wall. If you're going to collaborate, you're going to be at this table, or you're going to be at this table. All right, go. By differentiating in a space that's small or where you have a lot of students, we are able to set students up with the learning situations in which they can learn best.
Here at Summit, we serve a wide range of students, and so you'll see a varying degree of skill within an academic classroom. Providing flexible space gives students the opportunity to learn in different ways, and it also gives the teacher the opportunity to coach them properly in a personalized manner to reach their learning goals.
If you guys want to work independently, what is going to be the best place and the best people to be next to you to work independently? Those who want the mini lesson are going to come to this table. We provide a lot of flexibility for learning environments, whether it's flexibility in terms of a physical space, flexibility in terms of the different choices that students have. You see students seated toward the back of the room. Those students are working independently. The students who are at the tables have chosen to collaborate, which is something they thought through and made part of their goal setting. And then you have the group of students that chose one of the two mini lessons, and that takes place in the center of the classroom.
Is it better to have more whiteboard or
Sometimes a student will write a better thesis in the conclusion than they do at the opening because they had it.
We wanted to collaborate because we've been helping each other on the steps that we have to do, and especially since they're so long, we kind of thought, we should work together. Also, I think if we were to be at other tables, we might be more distracted. Each slide has a different.
Just like somewhere.
Okay, so when, to use an example of trying to think differently, at Project Academy, we built an upper campus of 20-odd classrooms, and just so everybody knows, it was a 60-40 split with the department that they're 40%, and the school being 4 years old at that point, took out a 16 million rand loan from the bank to pay for the 28 classrooms, our 60%. So I know lots of principals here thought that I got the money all from the department. No, I did not. Took a big risk. When you're a 3-year-old school, you have no books, as in accounting books to show the bank why they should give you money. And the only sort of bartering or collaboration or whatever I had was my reputation as a principal and as a teacher that I would make this work. And so we got the loan, and the department gave 10 million, and we had 16 million, and that was 26 million. And we built 28 classrooms with the innovation center, etc., and so on. But the idea, when we designed these classrooms, because now the school was in charge of it, we tried to design something different to create these learning spaces. So some of the science labs that we designed had dividers in them. And so you could open up the divider and have a double science lab. So in other words, I could have the teaching in the front of the lab, while other kids were doing their practicals in the back of the lab. Or I could bring 3 or 4 classes in the lab and just do all the practicals at one shot. Those type of things. We designed a little space, which was a 4 classroom space, which also could be divided up into 4 individual classrooms, or have a big 4 classroom space where you could bring a whole grade to do team teaching, or to do collaboration, to do whatever you wanted to do with them, mini hall if you want to call it. But you could also divide it up into half or into quarters and create different types of spaces so that the kids could work maybe in smaller groups if you needed to. Another thing I did, which was worked but also didn't work, is instead of having classroom doors that were wooden and you couldn't see through and the teachers would close and you don't know what the hell is going on behind the classroom, and I am an A personality, I made sure the classrooms also made of glass. So everybody could see what was happening in their classroom when you walked past. And the teachers freaked out initially because kids were going to be distracted and they were going to be distracted and others were going to... And you know, after about 2 weeks, everybody got over the novelty of being able to see what was going in or out. And it allowed me as a principal and allowed other teachers to see best practice. So as you walk in the corridor, you say, oh, this is looking good. Let me just stand here and see what's going on in this classroom. And so we were able to collaborate more as staff with the design of the classrooms. Recently, the WC is building a school in Rivergate, just outside the Noon area, and they've made the foundation phase classrooms a little bit differently. There is a window, a long window at the back of the classroom to shed light in the back of the classroom, so it's not this dark, dingy place at the back of the classroom. Every one of the foundation phase classrooms have a little low table around the one side with nice cupboards in and a sink with a tap. Because the thinking is there, well, these little minis have to wash their hands because we know how it goes. And so then we don't have to send them out. There's a tap, we can wash things right here in the classroom. So different thinking on how the design goes. Even things like where the plugs are had to be thought about. Where are we going to put plugs in a 21st century classroom? Because kids nowadays, everybody needs to charge their cell phones. I remember saying to the architects, no, guys, we need another 10 plugs in the back wall. Especially in the new high school. Just need plugs everywhere. Just put plugs in, because every child wants to charge their cell phone or laptop or something. So little things like that in design. And we at WC are now calling this classroom by design. So believe it or not, I know we get a lot of flack here at the office at WC. We are thinking about these things. Classroom by design. Schools by design. Just not putting up a school that looks like a prison. You know, you look at our old schools. I'm going to use Mrs. Lehman's building. The old building, we have like the classrooms along the sides with like a wall in the middle. And the noise is just crazy. I don't even know how you guys teach in that school. And then we have this, at PHA as well, all the rainwater, instead of using cement, normal cement in the quads, we put semi-permeable cement. Slightly more expensive. Built a reservoir under the school, because it was on a 70-degree hill, so it made itself. And in the reservoir, every single piece of rainwater is collected. Because as it falls in the quads, it goes through the cement into the reservoir. Use that water to obviously water the grass, flush the toilets, etc. Sun Exchange, and I'm sure some of your schools have heard about Sun Exchange, and if you haven't, get in contact with them. We put in solar panels with them. So what they do is they sell the solar panels on the open market. It's almost like crowdfunding, but don't say that because they're very sensitive about it. They say it's not crowdfunding, but it is crowdfunding. So you go into contact with them, they put the solar panels up, they sell the solar panels. So as a school, you have no capital outlay. But you can get not inverters and batteries, just the solar panels. So when the ESCOM goes off, you still go off. But at least you've got solar panels, and you can save quite a bit of money on your electricity bill, because they're selling the electricity back to you via the solar panels on a much cheaper rate. Also, you know that the increase for the next 5 years is X percent, because you signed it in your contract. We work with ESCOM, we never know, is it going to be 37% this year or whatever the increase is going to be, and that makes budgeting difficult. So that's another innovative way of trying to bring some of the 21st century skills into your school. With the solar panels, when we were selling it on the open market, we actually made it part of the school's economics project, where the kids actually bought the solar panels. And now they track the investment that they get on their returns on the solar panels. So that can be part of what you do in your school. So 21st century skills. You don't need lots of stuff. You need to be agile, you need to think out of the box, and you need to create opportunities for your children to learn the skills they need. Movable furniture. So on the lab, there's stuff with wheels. So I can move, because in the lab there's massive desks. Put wheels, you can just move them around. These wheels don't cost much, it doesn't take a lot to put them on. You can get that done to make your classroom more agile and have the desks in one spot. And I still don't understand, I've said to the head office, why are we ordering this old-fashioned furniture when we're talking 21st century classroom? So we're starting to move now also to spec new furniture at WCE, new designs of furniture, something different. If you need at a primary school, you need some ideas, go to Hilton-Green primary school. That principal and staff made their own furniture with their own hands. So it's custom designed. You can move it around, make different things. You'd be blown away what they've done. And obviously that didn't cost that much because they did it themselves with their parents. So go and take a look. There's lots of schools out there that have got different thinking in their design. Campus of schools, it's a new idea as well that we're coming up with. And we've just started that with, at Saxonsea and at Roosendaal. You've heard of the Rapid Build project that the Minister talks about. And so we have a Rapid Build, and we have a junior high school on the next door land at Roosendaal, which will have grade 6s at the moment, grade 6s, grade 8s at the moment, and then obviously grade 9s next year. And we're hoping that in the future it will have 7, 8 and 9s, because that's a phase, and they must be together, because the grade 7s are in primary school. But they must carry on into grade 8. and maybe they should rather be with the 8s and 9s together in their phase, so those teachers can talk to each other, and we can get our maths results better, and our reading better. And that's a rapid ball project which is made a complete different type of design and building using steel infrastructure and filling it up with a more cheaper material. And we built 9 classrooms, and I write this to Mrs. Lehman, 9 classrooms plus a 4 classroom empty space which can be subdivided, the innovation centre, so it's about 12 classrooms, admin block, a staff room, and toilets in 65 days. But that's thanks to that governing body because they kept the gangsters at bay and the mafia. But we managed to do it in 65 days, and in Saxon Sea in Atlantis. So there are lots of innovation. We are trying as WCB to innovate within, obviously, the budget to get different types of learning spaces. So the idea at Roosevelt with the Innovation Centre and the way the classrooms are designed is that a teacher could have a class in a 60 square metre classroom, but then stream her lessons into the big space where another 4, 5, 6 classrooms can be with maybe 1 teacher and a couple of assistants. You could have an expert teacher teaching instead of having an expert teacher teaching 50 learners here and the other 150 being taught by whoever you can find because you have to fill your posts. There's lots of different ways of thinking. And so the rapid school bill is what we're talking about. We are also looking at WCD, looking at old office blocks and redesigning them into schools. Not the schools we know, because we need to be innovative. So they're not going to offer all the thousands of sports and 20, 100 subjects. Those offer a certain stream of subjects. They will be completely different in how we design them, how we run them, their codes of conduct, things like that. Okay, so it's a very exciting time to be in education. And I ask the principals that are here, the North know, because I've been talking to them all the time about this, that if we come to you, put up your hand and say, me, because yes, it's going to be a disaster, it's going to be chaos, it's going to make your hair grey, and you are going to get sleepless nights and maybe some heart palpitations. I walk around my office saying I'm about to have a stroke, because we've got all these different designs of classrooms, and I'm not sure if they're going to work. I keep telling Mr. Lehman it is going to work, but sometimes I'm not sure. But we have to try. Because if we don't try something new, we're never going to get our kids where we need them in terms of what they require in this global world. So, just to end off, designing a classroom for 21st century is not decorating. Okay? It's actual putting thought into how I can create different learning spaces for collaboration, creativity, and whatever other skills I need to teach my children, and to give them the personalized, as best I can without ICT. How can I personalize the education for them within my classroom? Something I saw when I went to America, one of the NTA, what the prize was to go with the DG to the United States, was really interesting. But besides that, one of the schools has a classroom, and built around the classroom is a quad. Quad is closed, and the walls of the quad are whiteboards. The whole thing is whiteboards. So when they send the kids out, the kids can collaboratively work on these whiteboards together. They've got like a little seating around it. The one's called the IT lab. We put our IT labs with the 2 computers facing each other, and the kids sit like in rows. This one, and I tried this design, and it did have its pros and cons, where the kids are facing that way. You as a teacher, your desk is here, so you can see every screen as you stand here up on a platform. Kids don't need to see you when you're teaching IT or CAT. They need to see what's on the whiteboard, and you need to see what the hell they are doing, because they are on Facebook and TikTok while you're teaching. You think it's going well, but nothing's going well. But if I can see everybody's screen, just at a glance of our stagger it, I can see exactly what they're doing while I'm standing here at my desk teaching. It's a classroom by design for 21st century skills. And so I'm just going to leave you with those few ideas. I hope it stimulates some thinking. I haven't given you answers. I don't have mobiles, I don't have posts. But I hope at least got you thinking. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Wendy, for that amazing talk. I think I speak for everyone when I say it was so informative. I've learned so much, and as a foundation phase teacher myself, it really resonated with me. Being agile, turning spaces into practical learning spaces, and I definitely agree about the decorating versus walls need to be places of learning. So without further ado, I think I need to introduce you to our panelists, who are the experts, being those at the coalface. So first of all, could I introduce you to Katri Haman, who is the principal of Hilton-Green Primary. And then Marshall Cupido, who is the principal of Silver Sands Primary School. And Stanley Eiles from Bridgeville Primary. And lastly, Granville Swartz from Heathfield Primary School. Katri, I think I'm going to start with you. Is there anything that Wendy shared that made an impression on you coming from Hilton-Green Primary?
Thank you.
Houston, we have a problem.
Well, I do have a teacher's voice. So can we carry on? Can everybody hear me at the back? Good afternoon. I know it's graveyard shift and everybody is really tired and it's Saturday and it's the rugby apparently at 3. But Wendy's presentation was really, really, really informative. Coming from Hilton-Green Primary there in the brink of everything there, Boncheville, Bishop Davis, I know how to hustle. And I know how to not wait for the department to get something done, because otherwise nothing gets done. So you need to be persistent, and that is what I am as well in Hilton-Green, because if you don't constantly ask, nothing happens. And then to think out of the box is very, very important. I like what she said about it's your school. Own it. It's yours. The department is not there every day to teach or to be in your school. Ask forgiveness later. It's much better than asking for permission. Then I always tell everybody that meets me that my school is a lucky packet. I plan this, and then I come to school and a whole different thing happens. So you have to learn not to get upset about it and just go with the flow. Sometimes we are so strict in what we plan and it needs to be like this, that sometimes you need to adjust. So that is also something that I took from her presentation. Then I really appreciated that she knows what we are going through at school. The department, we all know, have their ways and stuff that they pound on us, and if it's going to work, they don't even know, but they did expect us that it must, because they said so. So it was very enlightening that she knows how it is in reality for us when stuff happens, or when they want stuff done, and in our school how it needs to be done, the curriculum and so forth. I mean, they give us caps and say, there, you must do it. But they don't always give us the know-how. Then, teaching is not a one-fits-all glove. Every child in your class is different, and you need to adjust to that. And our teachers need to adjust to that. That's why the design spaces that she showed is very informative, because you can't get upset for Johnny that's not listening at this moment, because you can't sit still. It is what it is. You need to adjust and rethink the way of teaching. Teaching has evolved. It's not like we were taught, or not even me, the grandparents and the before fathers being taught in rows. Life changed, and our kids in front of our classes has also moved on, and we must be cognitive about that. then everything in your school can be wow. It doesn't need to have an excuse of there's no money. I'm a no-fee school. I'm quintile 4. We don't have anything from the parents. We give everything, but we make it work. We need to be wow, and that's where the hustle comes in. So that was very, very nice thing that she said. And then last thing, second last thing, skills driven. Yes, the curriculum says A, B, and C, but we must remember what we want to send out in the world. We want to send kids out to be grown-ups, to have sustainability, to have their place under the sun. And sometimes we must focus more on the skills than the content. Then we must remember, although we are not all in classes anymore, your school is a class. So manage it like a classroom. Use your spaces that you have. And then the keynote that I've taken from her presentation is think out of the box.
My turn. Most of you know I'm from Silverstone's Primary School. I'm in that position for 4 years, but a lifelong educator. Wendy, I must say thank you. You inspired us today. You're like my kind of girl. I would like to be part of your team because I'm sitting with brilliant ideas and I'm not going anywhere. In the sense that when you reach out to the WCB, there's no funding. So hustling, I think we have done that since we are growing up. So at our school, and I want to add on to my colleague on my right, since I took over, I started to hustle for the school. I didn't sell myself. I sold the idea. I sold the idea to the SGB first, who have the buy-in. If they accept, then us as educators can't do anything. So once they have once you have the 100% support of them, then your project will be successful. So if I start there and I look at where our school was, brilliant principles before that, but then financially we dropped. I took the school in 3 years to 350,000 rand in investment. So that is a plus for us. We had funding. That was the first thing that we touched since I started it, because as a principal, you need to sleep peacefully. You need to not worry about salaries that need to be paid. Where are you going to get money for the next function, for the next project? So that was the first thing I did. The second one was the maintenance of the school. So they also thinking out of the box. What can we put in the classes? What can we do on the school to make it more user-friendly for the learner to want to be at school, for the educators to be at school? So we started with rollout of small TVs, not projectors, because that doesn't last. The TV lasts much more longer, much more cheaper. So we ran with that. Then also we started with the policies that was not in place. All these things built up to the successful operation of a classroom at the end of the day. But what I do pick up, and this is I think most of us that starts as a principal, the stress, is the buy-in of our colleagues. They see your idea and they want to see you fail. But if you're like me, like an Afrikaanse sailor, so say, 'n water op een se rug, ek acknowledge, ek luister, en dan kap ek. And at the end of the day, I don't do it for myself, I don't do it for you as an educator, but I do it for the learner, to make sure that their life is much bigger. Then I motivate the parents, so that they can also have the buy-in. Because my belief is, when you have the first year of giving to the school, the second year will be less giving to the school, because the effect is already happening in the first year. I also did the chat GPT on Wendy's presentation, and I must say spot on, a little bit different of what I have, but it speaks about technology, it speaks about all the other things that is supposed to be there in our schools. But you as the leaders should be driving that. So, like Paige, my colleague, said previously, we were part of the group that graduated graduated last year or this year, that the enthusiasm to be at the school every morning should not be broken down by things that is happening in the classroom, in the school, and in the staff room. You should be there irrespective of the one that is wanting it not to be there. So you are there for the other one, the one that is also like hard-working, enthusiastic to become or to be there in the morning with you. And if you have a team like that, or a team that you're building up to get there, then you're on the right path. You have been placed there with a reason. And that reason is to be for the learner, to be for the community, and to be successful at the end of the day. So yeah, that's my part of my story. When I've seen Protea Heights, I've been there for the workshop, and what you are speaking about is 100% true. If you can one day go to that side, please go and see what they have put in place. And if that is the ideas that the department have, then we go that way. I just recently, a month ago, we have installed a solar system, not a solar inverter system for the admin block. And you know what the negative is? Sir, you have spent so much money, but the network is off. So now I'm asking, what next? Why didn't you come up with an idea? Why didn't you run with it? We are there to support each other, not to break each other. So I wish you well for the year ahead. I've said to myself, 2023 is going to be a good year, but I started off on a negative foot. A negative foot, and I'm not going to turn that into a negative. I am positive looking forward. It will be a best year, ever for us. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Stanley Ellis, Principal at Bridgewood Primary School, as you heard earlier. And I can vouch for Katri, she's having us. For all the principals in the auditorium, you know, you don't know so much about hustling if you're a new intern, but as you continue on your journey as a principal, you will definitely have to give that skill on hand. And I think it starts with networking as well. So whatever opportunities you get, network. Get to know people, get to know situations and things, and put yourself out there. It's about moving outside of the comfort zones. If you really want to make things happen, you're going to have to do that. Hustling. Every principal must hustle. If you want your school to improve, or you want anything to become better for school, you're going to need to hustle. So you're going to have to approach companies, people, and NGOs, and all those partners that you can get into your school. And that's a big part of our life. So set up a deal with your SGP and let them know we need to go out, draft letters, get the things going. You definitely need to do that. I think next, if I look at the presentation I was bringing on, is management, you know, and what she said is true. As principals and with the appointment of 16A, true, you are in charge of the school. You need to manage it. And we must not, you know, give that power away. So where we can manage as best we can, not to involve the CM and so forth, we must take charge of it. We must know obviously our policies, our framework, our legislation that we have to work within, so that you don't put your foot in it. So you need to be able to manage, and this I tell my teachers as well. You are the manager of the class. You need to manage. So they can't come and arrive to you with every little issue of disciplinary matters and so forth, or whatever needs they are. They need to manage too. And it's about empowering as well. And when I start off the year with my staff, I tell them, let's get to know our kids. And then you move from there. Because if you're going to manage the class, you need to know your learners, you need to know the background and what they're about. So you're going to have to do your homework. And then in that same vein as well, it's empowering our learners, because from school, when you class the teacher, they need to delegate and give powers to learners, teach them responsibilities, have systems and structures in place which will empower the learners to do their bit again. Because the school doesn't belong to the principal nor the teachers, but it belongs to everybody that's in that setup. So our learners have a big role to play too. And it's about teaching them to become proactive as well. And that brings me to the point of proactive. Being proactive. We can't wait, as Katri has indicated in my Marshall as well. We can't wait on people. We can't wait on the department. We must make things happen. And this is where you draw on the strengths of your colleagues as well around you. I always tell them, your biggest resource around you is your colleagues. The expertise, the experience, draw from, learn from one another, and seek help if you need it. And from there, obviously we can make things better. But if you're going to get caught up in a situation where you don't speak, don't talk, you will have bigger problems later. Then, to be agile and flexible and to make things happen. For example, we needed some grade 3 tables, the size for the learning, because they're in between there. So I told my staff, let's have a look at it, my deputy and caretakers, and we all need to cut down tables to the size for them. You know, I'm not going to wait in the department or anybody else for that matter. We must make things happen. Otherwise, it's never going to be done. And then, obviously, last but not least, don't be afraid to fail. We are fallible, and I always say that. We all make mistakes, but we must learn from them. And one of the biggest things, obviously, as a leader, you should be able to identify and give credence to the fact that if you made a mistake, you have to make amends. So if you make a mistake, own up to it, and then put better things in place. The same too with your staff members. They need to learn this too, because many of them make mistakes in classrooms. And what do they teach the learners at the end of the day? How to make right what you've done wrong. I like a saying by a good old friend of mine, Simon Bandler. I think most people know him, educationist. And he says, it doesn't matter about the ICT or the best resource you have in your school. The person that makes the difference is the teaching class. So we must ensure that we get the best for our teachers with empowerment, development, so that they can be the best of the learners in the class again. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Bramwell Swat, Hilton Primary. Many thanks for just a very energetic presentation and just enthusing us. And I think if we have those type of energies in all our districts all the time, I think there will be more coming out of our different schools. So I guess everybody will leave here and ask GTT, what is it? Chat. What does hustle mean? Define hustle. But I think that is one of, for any principal working in under-resourced schools, those are one of, that is part, I think for those of us that was at UAT and all of those were one of those courses, part of the hidden curriculum. Because you cannot survive at any under-resourced school without having that skill. And I think there's other terms that we would use, collaborate, we will use things like partner, we will use words like consult. And sometimes we'll go right down and say we beg and we grovel, but we will get the things for our learners and our schools. And sometimes, we think that that only lies with the principal. No, teachers, parents. And I was asked, how does all of this impact that we will speak about our school? And I will use a couple of examples. We currently are the proud owners of what used to be UCT's soccer artificial turfs. And that was a pride of joy. You'll even find when our Model C schools from other side, the Bergfleet area comes to Heathfield, they want to come and play cricket because at our school, because we've got this beautiful facility. And I can just tell you this, principals, you know, when you have these beautiful facilities like that, I suddenly realized why many times we don't have those things in our under-resourced schools, because I was suddenly worrying, how do we maintain this? And then WCD for once was like the city they were for us. They came last year and said, we're going to have a fully refurbished school with it. So, and part that I just want to put before I forget, they promised that we will have a school that will be future-proof. You're going to have to evaluate as things go by what future-proof means in real terms of things. But with this, when I was started worrying about our turf, and it's well used by all those of you that played soccer up at UCT on that turf, it's well used and it was busy coming loose at the edges, and how do I budget in a phantom budget to get this thing maintained? And then the department came up with this brilliant, it must be an answer to my prayers, and said, Mrs. Swart, if we save 3 months of basically seeing to preparing a ground for the mobiles. We can say that the condition is we're going to give you a brand new turf. I said, yes, Lord, thank you. So that comes, number one, a parent hustle there. A parent worked and removed this at UCT, and he begged and came back to my predecessor and said, can I organize this for the school? So it's not all the hustling doesn't always have to be on our desk. Then besides our teachers, give you an idea, we now recently had a surf walk, and with petrol and all of those, bus prices just went awry. And one of my PIY interns came and he said, sir, can I organize the buses? And he got the buses for half the price. So always think about, speak to, and always allow those to do the hustling. Our governing body chairperson, we were talking about, we still had till 2 years ago, and I worked with William at my previous school at Harmony. William and I packed out what is a 30-odd computers and reconnected a complete lab when he was still with Kanya. So we still had, at my current school, almost 20 years old, Kanya PCs. It was well looked after, and they were so slow, they didn't connect. We struggled to get to MCL, and we kept on putting it out there. And one day I just got a call from our governing body chairperson. I spoke to somebody that presented at our company today. Can he come and meet you? 3 months later, we had R500,000 fully refurbished computer lab. So if we want to get into, and I'm just thinking earlier on, we cannot talk about 21st century skills, classrooms, school, without linking to that the fourth industrial revolution, because that will be the vehicle of getting our kids, our learners, into that space. Another project that I get a call, and this is what I want to just tell you colleagues, when you collaborate, please report to your funders, report to those people, and give them report backs, invite them to things, because at the end of the day, the more you work with them, the more you speak to them, the more they're going to come back and spend more money or give more resources at your school. If we come too busy to do due diligence, they walk away and they go to somebody that they feel will do better. So I get a call from a partner that I work with in another district. Formerly I worked in Central at Norma Road Primary. And they said, look, I tried everything. I cannot just get the principal on the same day, on the same time. My partner has money to spend. See, you know, the CSI money, there's BE, but it is ICT specific that you want to spend it. 3 days later, at that time, 45,000 Rand was paid into our account, based only for ICT, and we could develop that. Going forward in terms of what we're doing and developing spaces, I always believed in that in technology. I think I saw Leonard up there. Remember how we were putting computers at Prince George Primary together and recreating a little bit of ICT for teachers, and that was 1 million years ago, Leonard. That's what it feels like. But at school, what we've done is we took, besides these computers that we had, we took the 20 mini slimline computers, we put it in a room where our library is, and we split the room in two. Now, always time on task is a big thing. So we said half of our learners only have 20 computers, so what we did is we timetabled those learners 2 periods in that classroom. So 1 period off, have library, we use the library as a vehicle to drive remedial reading, and our other half do MCO maths. Then they split around, so we save time, and we use a venue effectively, and that is, I think, some of the creativity that Wendy alluded to. At school, also just being very crazy, we created an outdoor classroom. So many times teachers could take for science the kids out to the outdoor classroom. Now, the slight challenge now is we in mobiles, they're very hot mobiles. They handed over to us on the 16th of January. We were operational already on the 18th when our learners arrived. So all these things, principles, when we hustle, it's more than just getting things. It's how you apply what you get. It's how we manage those things. I mean, I can continue for quite a long time. telling you and talking you about things that we implemented and how we applied it at our school. And ultimately, it is for the best, it's to the best interest of our learners and to improve teaching and learning for all our learners. Thank you.
That wraps up this session. So a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much.
Really must take you lead. Thank you very much, really. Appreciate it. Thank you, Shona. Much appreciated. I want to introduce you to our next. We have two more speakers.